Hello and welcome to My Mom's Basement presented by Barstool Sports and 3Chi. I am your host, Robbie Fox, along with my co-host, Clem, for another free swim / nerd news edition of the podcast / mailbag edition of the podcast. We haven't done listener questions in a while, so we put the call out earlier this morning. We took in a bunch of questions. This is another, as Eddie calls it, a free swim. Maybe we should call it like a free fly because we're talking superheroes and stuff and dragons.
Hey, Baba, we got a little bit of my Eddie is getting better. I spent the weekend with him in San Diego. We got a little bit of a mailbag. We call it free swim here in Chicago. A little too cold out to be swimming outside, but still, nonetheless, a swim nonetheless. We can still do it, a hot tub, a jacuzzi, if you may. Anything you want to call it, we can do it here. Not nearly as good as Large or the original himself, but I'm getting there. It's one of my favorite bands.
Yeah, you are getting there.
Impressions.
Your ZD brother. That is that is not bad. Not the worst impression I've ever heard. We've got a bunch of news to talk about, some trailers to talk about. As I said, we put out the call for questions. Real quick off the top, let me remind everyone we're still trying to hit 50,000 subscribers on YouTube by the end of the year. Make sure you subscribe right now. If you're not subscribed, pause the video, hit that little subscribe button down there. If you're listening on the podcast feed, do it on YouTube. It would really help us out. Hey, if you got more than one Gmail account, you could help us out in more ways than one there. It's like you got variants of yourself.
Yes, create your own variant by creating another Google account, which is free and very easy to do. I think I'm just going to bail on the basement. If we can't get to 50,000, it is such a, and this is the funny thing about subscribers. I don't think subscribers even really matter that much. And then it's like, I feel like views matter more than subscribers, but then you see the views on other people's pages and they have a lot less subscribers. And there's other pages that have a ton of subscribers, much less views compared to subscribers. And I'm like, I don't even know what to make of this YouTube thing. Now we're at like war with YouTube for after the surviving Barstool nonsense. Is it even like a thing? But then I'm like, is this like, if we can't even get another, what are we at? We need another 7,000 subscribers after we got.
No, not even. I think we're at 46,000 right now.
I mean, guys, come on. If you're just listening on the podcast, which is
Clem's going to bail on the basement. He's going to retire. It's going to be like a pro wrestling retirement. Probably he'll be back then the next week, but he's going to retire.
I feel like we're here every week. We just ask you guys just to click a couple buttons, just to keep the basement lights on. Because then, hey, I've had a few shows that become cult classics. Robbie, from the top rope, and then everyone's like, "Oh, we wish I had it back." It's like, guys, we just asked you to do like 3 or 4 things for us. We're here every week for an hour plus. Just help us out. Help the basement out. We have a new video out. We have an unboxing, the first motherfucking unboxing here in the basement, which I'm gonna spoil it for anyone that didn't watch. Skip ahead 5 minutes, not even 2 minutes. But for people that watched or are not going to watch, he's our newest third chair in the basement. There he is. Shout out to our guy, Frank, Basement Boy of the Month right there. Made a custom Darth Jar Jar for me. And it is my face. I was like the Nintendo 64 kid when I saw it. Like I had to go back and see it.
Well, we didn't even know that could exist. That's one of those things that's like you didn't even know you wanted it because you didn't know it existed.
Yeah, exactly. He created something from George Lucas's brain. Let's be honest. This was actually all in the works back then, and then it got destroyed because everything else in the Phantom Menace was an absolute joke. And shout out to Frank. It was one of the best things I've ever seen in my life. And I said, if one of my kids have that kind of reaction on Christmas to one of their gifts, I've made it as a father. And this guy did it. Frank
and there you go. So you saw Clem's gift. Now, if you want to see my gift, because he sent me something and it's just as good, if not better, in my opinion, now go to the unboxing. Now you got to watch that on YouTube. So go check that out. Also, like you said, it was our first unboxing. From what I've heard, it will not be our last unboxing. I've already heard from one of our favorite basement boys who DM'd me this morning and said there will be some gifts coming to the office soon for you guys. So it's like, oh my God, we're not asking for gifts, but we'll take them.
We'll take them. We'll take subscriptions too. That's easy to do. And if you've done all that, it's more than enough. We thank you guys. But it's very exciting times here in the basement.
Very exciting. So let's get into some exciting things in overall nerd culture, nerd news. The Boys season 4, we got our first trailer for. And immediately you see the thumbnail for the trailer and you're like, all right, this is what I'm expecting out of the boys, because it's just Homelander standing in an elevator or something, covered head to toe in blood. It looks like he got cranberry sauce all over him or something. The trailer for the boys made me excited, but it also made me a little bit nervous, I'll admit. And I have no reason to doubt the boys or think that they're not going to deliver an amazing, shocking, jaw-dropping season of television. But season 4's trailer leans heavily into like modern political themes. We got the elections coming up next year. I just hope they don't lean too far into the real life politics that makes me like, oh my God, I'm dreading like everything that has to do in the news cycle. Hopefully they still have that level of absurdity, which I think they will, though. Narration said like, who's gonna lick your taint? It's like, well, yeah, that's the boys.
Yeah, you absolutely nailed it when you texted me that take, and you were like, I just don't want it to be. I'm at the point where I realized I just stopped watching network news in general, and I'm not one of those fake news or my news or the highway people, whether you're left, right, down the middle. It's just like, I think during COVID, I was just so sick of getting COVID updates. I was like, I don't really need this. And I realized I don't watch TV at all, like regular TV, old school TV, really at all anymore. I watch like my sports, and then a couple of shows here and there. Fargo just started, so I'm back into that, which is only on FX. And then a couple other shows that are, only on network TV. Other than that, it's like I can just get my streaming services. So I'm really, really hoping. I think they'll go to the absurd length of it, but I don't need to know. Like, I just don't need that shit in my head. I'm going to probably see it enough on social media, probably see a couple things on the blog for the most absurd stuff and Barstool. Other than that, I just want to keep that out of my life. Shout out to South Park for being like the first and best version of like mocking the modern political system in America, where it's like it was a douche versus a turd sandwich, I believe.
Yeah.
And I don't even remember what like presidential race that was, but I'm sure it was 100% accurate for our options back then, and it hasn't changed at all since. So that's my take on all of it. I cannot just keep it out of my out of sight, out of mind. Just seeing the boys, though, like the actors and especially the boys crew, where Billy Butcher, my guy Huey, and I've realized this. I think the biggest crush I have in the world right now is on Starlight. I just am in love with her. She's just so delightful, Bob. She's so delightful. And she is so pure of heart too.
And there's that great shot of her like being kind of frazzled in the chaos of everything, and she looks through all the chaos, and you see Homelander just staring there with that creepy ass smile on his face. Also, we're getting Jeffrey Dean Morgan in this season, who is, you may know from The Walking Dead. He played Negan. He played Thomas Wayne in the Zack Snyder Batman versus Superman in a very brief scene. Great, great, great actor. And I'm very excited to see what he's going to do in the boys universe.
I had no idea who this guy was just based on name alone. So I just IMDb'd him. And it is, he's the comedian in Watchmen in the movie. So I was like, okay, I knew him from something there. That guy, that strikes me as a guy who will fit into the boys universe like a glove, absolutely perfectly. We've also got some there's been like some press with the boys, or at least some clips that have been going viral. And the guy who plays Homelander, his first crush was Elizabeth Shue, I found out. Did you see that clip?
Oh, no, I didn't see that.
And I don't know if it's new or if it's like an older one, but he was talking about it, and he was saying like when she put her fingers in his mouth, and I'm like, dude, if like your crush girl, like if Stacy Keibler did that to me, because that was my crush growing up, I would just melt. I would turn into a puddle. Like multiple people have turned into puddles on that show, basically, of just blood and guts. Like I would just melt in real time. So that was just one of those fun facts that I absolutely love. Kind of excited to see what kind of Billy Joel songs we get. Is Balls into the boys?
I don't know if he is. I gotta talk to him about it. I feel like he would definitely like it.
We need to get Balls into the boys. Just say, listen, superhero show, and there's Billy Joel is like a big part of the universe, and he will we'll have him in. It's always good just to have Balls in the mix, right? And he's in orbit somewhere in the show.
Of course. Another trailer we got on the same day as The Boys is the House of the Dragon Season 2 trailer. Just like The Boys, it's a quick one. It's more of a teaser trailer than anything. I think it's just about a minute. But oh my God, this one, there was no worries associated with House of the Dragon. It was just excitement. When they show all the different characters, it almost refreshed my memory on like the whole season 1. When they showed Allison's dad, I was immediately like, oh, that motherfucker. I forgot about that dude. We also heard from George R.R. Martin. He said him and the showrunner spent 2 days locked in a room figuring out seasons 3 and 4, which sound like they're going to be the show's final seasons. Sounds like just a 4-season show, which I like. We know we're going to get into the meat and potatoes like immediately. No chuffa, as Bruce Willis called it on the Die Hard set. You just take all that stuff out, and it's just going to be the awesome stuff. He's also seen the first 2 episodes of season 2. George R.R. Martin said, I thought both episodes were just great. Dark, mind you, very dark. They may make you cry, powerful, emotional, gut-wrenching, heart-rending. Just the sort of thing that I like. Clem, are you excited as I am for season 2 here?
I was excited. I don't know how you could be a fan of the show or of Thrones in general and not be excited after seeing that trailer. I'm gonna have to admit though, those words, I didn't hear that quote. They just made me a little less excited. This is gonna fucking hurt, man. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna be fun. One thing that like I think about with Thrones now that we've kind of had time to process the last season and try to forget it is, man, like some of those episodes were like playoff games for my sports teams. Like I didn't sit during the entire Battle of the Bastards. It was like a Giants game in Lambeau playing against like a 15-1 Packers team. You're just hoping for the best, expecting the worst, like, or was it expecting the worst, praying for the best, whatever it may be. And you're just like on the edge of your seat the entire time. And like shit's going to get really fucked up here. We're going to have wins. We're going to have losses. And this is the thing. Looking back now, I think season 1, we'll look back at it as like kind of just a setup season, right? Like I feel like a lot of
that's what everyone was telling us at the time.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, we were fucking like living and dying with a lot of this shit. There was some crazy stuff that went down. So I can't wait. It's the Greens versus the Blacks. That's what we've kind of figured out. Greens is Allison's house, obviously House Hightower, and then the Blacks is kind of the Targaryen Rhaena. I still don't know if I can pronounce her.
Rhaenyra.
So it's going to be very interesting to see how it all goes. But man, I said Fire and Blood is what the name of the books are, and I think we're gonna be getting a lot of that this season. Dude, the dragon just flying overhead with fucking holes in its wings, legit metal dragon right there. And it was a very quick glimpse of it, but I just love that a shot of the showdown on the beach where it's like you see 2 dragons sitting and the 2 riders like kind of meeting in the middle. Like we're going to get some hardcore shit. And then like the politics game, I think is going to be a lot of fun. The people on the back channels, the little fingers, or in this case, the Clubfoots of the world. I'm really excited to see how that all plays out. So we haven't read the books, neither of us. I don't think any of us have any idea about any of the story, right? Other than what happens years and years down the road with Daenerys and her family. I've heard like this shit is just as crazy as basically the shit that goes down in Thrones, and I'm honestly not ready for it. I am 100% not ready for it. I'm excited. I'm excited to get back in the fucking basement with you, KFC, Nikki Hams, and the chat, and we just kind of like figure out what the fuck just happens as our brains exploded. And I think I was told no time jumps. Very important.
No time jumps. I heard that as well. Yep.
I haven't asked, but I don't think we're getting childbirths, which is like the biggest win of all this. Early summer 2024 premiere. That's awesome, because when you hear summer 2024, I'm instantly thinking they're going to go August and it's going to go right into, the fall. Nope, we're getting early summer, at least that's what the episode, the rumors were. 8-episode season, not too long. And then we're going to fucking Winterfell. We're going to meet some Starks and get some Winterfell stuff. So all that stuff has me extremely excited. That's like basically my wish list for this season. They're basically delivering on that list of stuff right there.
Just don't get too attached to any of these characters, because again, things are going to get very sad, gut-wrenching. We don't know what's going to happen. One of our coworkers is watching Game of Thrones for the first time right now. I don't even want to expose who it is because I don't want to risk spoilers being sent to this person. but they just got past the red wedding, and talking to them about it for the first time. Oh, it was great. It was like, oh yeah, you just experienced some trauma. You might need some grief counseling.
I have to say, my take on the Red Wedding is one of the greatest things ever. And it kind of goes into what I said earlier. But I said the Red Wedding was like watching a playoff game that your team is in, but you didn't know they were in the game. Like when you started, like you turn on the TV, you're like, oh, this is just like a regular season game. Probably what the fuck? We're in a fucking do or die elimination and we're down 56-0 right now with 5 minutes left. It's over. It's just over like that. The season's cooked. Absolutely crazy. I can't wait to hear about who it was afterwards. But man, that's one of those things where it's like where are you right now? Oh, I'm on episode of season. You're like, oh, okay, and then you're doing the mental thing. You're bringing like, oh, they haven't
yeah.
Right. Like, and then people who know of the Red Wedding are like, I knew about it, and I somehow still didn't see it coming when it all went down. So I don't think I am too attached to any of the characters. I'm just looking back at the characters that we've met so far. Like Damon's my guy. Me and Nick have like become Damon guys, like Team Damon. But that's kind of just like we had to stick our flag in because there was so much back and forth with him. But like he almost feels due. He's gonna probably have like a glorious death at some point. Like Rhaenyra, I like her, but again, you kind of just feel like these characters are all fucked. Even the kids, I don't really like love them. I don't think there's any Starks or different people that I fell in love with, even like who was Tyrion's dude that like always like stuck up for him. I can't believe I'm blanking on his name.
I'm bad with names.
Bronn,
yeah.
Podrick, like those are kind of guys that were maybe secondary, tertiary characters I fell in love with. And then obviously you love Tyrion.
Samuel Tarly.
Fuck Samwell. I was hoping he got roasted by a goddamn dragon.
You didn't like Samwell?
Oh, he was the pits. Bob.
I liked Samwell. He was nice.
Samwell is one of those guys you look back on fondly, but when it was going on, you're like, another Samwell scene, and he's taking this goddamn girl and her baby around. Like, just give me like fast forward. And listen, I'm a brand guy. I love my brand wagon stuff. But it was like brand was the same thing. It was like another part of the brand story, but I knew he had to be important enough to keep showing him on screen. That's why I kept riding the brand wagon. Samwell, it's like I don't think his stuff was even that important. Like it was important, but not to the amount of screen
I don't like
time.
that Samwell slander.
Samwell slander in the basement. We might have to do a poll. Samwell Tarly, good or bad, and just see how everyone else felt about it here. So yeah, I don't think there's anyone I really have any close attachments to going in. So it's like they're gonna burn them, they're gonna die. As I say that, like George R. R. Martin's good enough. He's gonna get us roped in, and I kind of want I'm kind of sick like that. I kind of like seeing what kind of damage the Clubfoot's gonna do because it's like those sick, evil, twisted people are always the ones that get W's in this messed up world.
No, that's very true. Speaking of sick, twisted, messed up people getting W's in this world. Deadpool 3 keeps having set leaks. It's very unfortunate, but the leakers are winning right now. And Ryan Reynolds was forced to put out a statement about it this week. The statement read, "Surprises are part of the magic of theatrical movies. It's important for us to shoot the new Deadpool film in real, natural environments using practical effects as opposed to making the movie indoors and digitally. Telephoto lenses continue to spoil surprises and create a difficult situation for everyone. Here's to hoping some of the websites and social channels hold back showing images before they're ready. The film was built for audience joy, and our highest hope is to preserve as much of that magic as possible for the finished film and the big screen. Part of the reason people post spoilers is because they're excited. And I realize that these aren't real world issues, and it's firmly in the good problems bucket. I love making this movie." It's tough that these leaks keep coming out. I've seen a bunch of them where it initially came out of Deadpool and Wolverine in what looks like the Void or something. And that's why they had to put out a picture of Wolverine in the yellow suit. They were like, all right, here's a high def picture, because you keep getting these blurry ones where the suit doesn't even look as good as it really is supposed to. Very unfortunate. That statement, though, I'm sorry, I don't think that's going to help anything. That feels like a teacher saying, hey, the answers to the test are on my desk. I'll be right back. Just don't look at them. It's like, there's going to be at least one kid that goes, looks at them, and tells the rest of the class.
To quote Jeff D. Lowe, anything goes is basically what you're telling the people.
Anything goes.
Yeah. I don't like it personally. I am very much in the boat with you. I don't want to have anything spoiled. Like, okay, it was cool seeing the yellow Wolverine thing. Definitely made it move as a 90s nostalgic X-Men fan. I don't want any more. And I don't know what I'm seeing, if it's actual leaks or people putting stuff together in their own way. I think we're all like in agreement at this point too. I even would have liked it if the Rockstar GTA trailer didn't get leaked. I would have liked it if it came out at 9 a.m. and we all had the entire day to just fawn over it, instead of just different people at different times were kind of getting it as it leaked that night and then into the morning. And then obviously we had our whole fucking orgasmic just like rewatch of it together throughout the day. It's just, I don't know, man. Like, we know it's coming. We know there's going to be cool shit when there's multiverse stuff and then there's nostalgia stuff. And Marvel kind of needs to like hit on this. They're going to do some cool stuff. Like, it's Christmas time. Don't search for your Christmas gifts. Like, we've all had that. Did you ever find? Did you find? Did you ever like look or find it?
No, I always wanted to be surprised.
Yeah, me too. I found it once and it was like instantly. I was like, that sucks.
Yeah.
Like I still remember the feeling I had in my heart of like being bummed about it. And I think that's kind of the same thing we're experiencing here.
With this, like the leaks that I've seen, none of them have made me really bummed. I haven't seen anything huge where I'm like, oh, I really like would have loved to see that on the big screen. But I think every little leak I've seen, even not in the telephoto lens photos, but in the news reports on this person's coming back, this person's reprising this role, I think all of those would be more enjoyable to watch on the big screen for the first time in a finished movie, when instead of like, oh, so-and-so is coming back as their character in 20th Century Fox universe. Imagine just seeing them in that costume again for the first time, like before your eyes. So listen, I get it. We do a nerd podcast. A lot of the listeners of this just are craving more content out of the movies that we're looking forward to. But personally, I'm not into it. I understand why Ryan Reynolds made this statement. I don't think it's going to help very much. Him putting that statement out makes me think we're going to get bigger leaks that they have to shoot in that void set, because he's like, some shit's coming that I don't want you to see. But we'll see. We'll see. He had some fun with it. He put out photoshops of like the Predator facing off with Deadpool and shit. Classic Ryan Reynolds stuff. And this might be part of the Deadpool 3 storyline at this point. Like Deadpool might have a line where he's like, and you already saw that because it fucking leaked online. Like they're the most fourth wall breaking franchise that you could ask for.
And that's the thing. Like when Ryan Reynolds says it, it's different than like some studio executive. Like if Bob Iger was like, please stop leaking this right now, people are then going to go crazy. Ryan Reynolds is like, you feel like he's one of us and he's a cool guy. So you're like, all right, like I don't want Ryan Reynolds to get upset. He's too pretty to be upset. I don't want to. And then like Lively's upset because he's upset. Don't make Sweet Blake unhappy. Make her life happy. They bring us enough joy. Do the same. And again, don't spoil. Like think about, man, it just hammers home how lucky we were with the way everything went with Endgame. The fact that, the pandemic comes a year later. Imagine, like we've said it a million times, that movie in the theater is such a different experience with a full packed house and everyone losing their minds. And then like, I don't really remember how many I wasn't spoiled at all, but
I wasn't.
I don't follow LaShawn McCoy on Twitter. Luckily, nobody retweeted it on him. I wasn't around Zod on a private jet with him, so I got lucky with that. But I don't really remember anything leaking for me. I'm sure there was a few big things that went, but this isn't nearly that level. But we are going to probably have a couple just like, oh fuck moments, like. We'll just make our plea to the basement boys and girls listening and watching. Don't leak, don't spoil. And then if you see, kind of just like swallow it down and hide it inside and don't even like it. Cause then the way fucking Elon's Twitter works now with following and likes, you don't know how it's going to appear in someone's feed. Just eat it. And fucking hopefully we can all experience this at the same time together. Just eat it. There's our hashtag. Just eat it.
Just eat it. Yeah. And also, on the Deadpool news front, we'll have some news about next week's podcast a little later on in the show. Call that a teaser. Help people stick around, keep their attention,
That's a teaser in the biz. And I also set you up for a hell of a transition into our first ad with that Just Eat It hashtag, huh?
We do have our first ad courtesy of our friends at HelloFresh. Say hello to stressless holiday season with the help of HelloFresh. Skip the grocery store and save time with easy, tasty recipes delivered straight to your door. 'Tis the season for giving and gathering. And with HelloFresh, it can also be the season of saving. Actually, save this month with fresh recipes delivered cheaper than takeout. And with pre-portioned ingredients, you'll never waste money on excess food. Also, it's the holiday season. I know people's cabinets are getting full right now. You buy your Christmas tree cookies, you buy your Malamars, you buy everything that you love around the holidays. HelloFresh isn't going to be loading up your cabinets with stuff. You use all this stuff, it's pre-portioned, you throw out the containers afterwards, you're done. And after a full day of work, there's obviously so much still left to do. Some days it feels like eating a wholesome dinner is next to impossible. HelloFresh will make it quick. They have 15-minute meals. It's so easy, so tasty. If you go to HelloFresh.com/FoxFree, FOXFREE, and use that same promo code FOXFREE, you will get free breakfast for life. One breakfast item per box while subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life at HelloFresh.com/FoxFree with code FoxFree. If you're a basement boy or girl, you know I'm a huge breakfast food person. I'll do breakfast for breakfast. I'll do breakfast for lunch. I'll do breakfast for dinner. I got a waffle right next to me right now. I'm ready to eat after this podcast. I love breakfast food. This is the deal of a lifetime. Free breakfast for life. What more could you ask for around the holidays, Clem?
You can't ask for anything, man. Breakfast is one of those things too, where it's like, it's an important meal, but it's one of those things you don't really want to spend a ton of money on, but you know how important it is. And you want to kind of mix it up as well, because it starts your day. You don't want to just keep doing the same boring stuff. Free breakfast for life is like, it just hits special. And this isn't going to be a surprise to anybody, but I'm sure everyone remembers growing up, the Casa de Clem. Breakfast for dinner is an absolute smash hit. We did it no less than 48 hours ago. We had waffles for dinner, and it was an absolute. And then this, to get the kids to keep eating their waffles, I said, we're going to do a little dessert, and I put ice cream on the waffles, and it became dessert for dinner as well. Dessert, breakfast, dinner. It was one beautiful meal. Get your HelloFresh, and I got to shout out.
You could do that with HelloFresh.
Yes, exactly. It's breakfast for life in name only, and then you just make it dinner. Yeah. Whatever you guys want to do. It's an app. I mean, every parent out there is nodding their head in agreement, because it's also so much easier than just doing a full-blown meal. If you don't have the HelloFresh, they take the fuss and the muss out of it. A+ stuff from HelloFresh.
A+. This is a really quick one, literally 5 seconds long. We got our first look at the Penguin series on HBO. HBO just put out like a long trailer for their year's worth of content, their year's worth of slate. It's a 5-second clip. You see the Penguin real quick from the Robert Pattinson Batman universe, Colin Farrell, and you see him like putting a body in a trunk with someone. He has the line of dialogue, "The world ain't built for guys like us." I delivered that pretty well. Nice. I honestly like he did. And then he says, "You ain't seen what I can do." Honestly, I just want this to be Gotham Sopranos. I want him to have, like, maybe you introduced this universe's Dr. Harleen Quinzel as his Melfi or something. Just make it the Sopranos over again. I'm on such a Sopranos kick. It really like put me in that mobster mood. Like, make it feel like it's a Scorsese television show or produced or whatever, and I'm in on this.
If they could do that, that's like how we often say, it's like it doesn't just have to be a comic book movie or show. It can be like a different genre where it has the comic book characters in it, and a mob show would just be awesome in general. And shout out Bob Fox. You can see it for the people on YouTube in the back there. His Rico Piomai, he has an extra print, and that was, I mean, that was an elite gift. We're talking Frank from our unboxings, and then Robbie Fox with his Rico. I thought it was the Tony picture at first, and then when I see, I was like, "Holy fuck!" He put Rico's face, and you know he's a rider, and the horse is right there to ride as well. So.
I am a rider. I am a rider, and it was fate, because I'm rewatching. I'm watching The Sopranos for the first time, and I'm talking to Rico about it like every day. Rico's always like, "Where are you up to?" and talks to me about the episode. So we've been bonding over that. The day I got assigned Rico and Secret Santa, I watched the episode with the painting. It was total fate. I was like, oh my God, that's a no-brainer. Got like the vintage frame to make it look like it's the frame that Tony gets it in and everything. And yeah, that was a fun one. I got John Rich was my Secret Santa. He got me a great R2D2 card, which, you know, something as simple as that, I really truly appreciate. And he got me a card and it said, I saw you on the train one day and I was too afraid to say hello. So here's a $50 Metro card. So it's a very practical, useful gift that I immediately put to use on the way home that day.
That's perfect. You can't go wrong with something that you're actually going to use. There's probably going to be more than a few of those Secret Santa, which I can't wait to see that video, that I imagine will just go in the corner, collect dust. But yours is already being used, and I guarantee Rico's going to have that up in the house in a prominence above the fireplace, above the mantle, as they say.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, it's a fine piece of art. You know, it belongs in a museum.
Can I make a confession here that I was like, I don't know if just text to Rico, write a tweet about it. I'm just going to say it in the basement. Have you ever seen Rico's video where he makes his Snickers pie?
Oh, it's the best in his angry voice. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've just been, every time I pass the, like I go past the ice cream section of the store, I'll see the Snickers ice cream and I'll just go Snickers pie. And then I say the word Snickers pie 1,000 different times in Rico's voice. And I've realized watching Surviving Barstools, like KFC imitates him. Rico low-key is one of the most fun people to imitate in the office because he does have such a like thick New York accent and he's a fucking crazy person. I say that in the nicest way. And it's just like, I'm just like, you put the Snickers ice cream in the graham pie crust and then you take the whipped cream and I'm just doing it.
Cut it up. Crumble the Snickers on top of pie.
Oh, he's the best. I absolutely love it. And for people not watching Surviving Barstool, it just brings me so much joy that as a company, I forget that we're watching a Barstool production because it's like that fucking good. You know, they do such a great job. And if you haven't bought it for $10 on the pay-per-view, it'll be available after the finale's over around the Christmas season. But it's been an absolute doozy. I'm Jerry is like one of the best Barstool moments of the year, flat out, without giving away any spoilers. It's been incredible. And just going back to the Penguin, I didn't even see the clip until as you were saying, and I went online and I picked it all up in the 5 seconds. It's literally 5 seconds there. That's one of those things you forget. The Batman, like you forget they were going to build an entire universe around it. And then this Max, everything just went crazy in terms of canceling stuff, changing strategies. Also, little recommendation. If there's a show you want to just play in the background, I watched Bookie. So this is the cast. Sebastian, I can't say the like Maniscalco. He plays like an Italian bookie who is like kind of like a little rough around the edges, but like kind of has like a heart of gold. But he's him. The dude who I'm pretty sure was one of the guys from like the Black Frat from Road Trip. He's like the muscular looking guy. And he's the Opie, you're gonna have to die. He takes out the KKK hood and stuff like that.
Yeah,
he's in it. And then I think it's the fat guy from like down Periscope. He was like kind of like one of those like 90s, early 2000s, that guys. I believe he's one of the guys in it. And it's like,
this is great. You're like, here's the cast. I don't know any of their names.
Yeah, I don't know any of their names, but they are very good at what they do. But it's like, the thing is, I'm clearly not saying this is a must watch. You have to like, this is going to be something we're going to cover in the basement. It's perfect. Throw it on in the background, get a couple of things done as you're doing it, get a couple of laughs. They're pretty like, and it's like, it's very much written by a comedian with his other comedian friends, but there's a couple good like cameos already. There's 4 episodes in 20 minutes. I actually love the Dolphins Hard Knocks. So they played this commercial after and before it. So I'm like, fuck, I got to have to check that show out now. And then I saw it. I was like, oh, little 20-minute thing. So you got my head going with Max here. I was like, let me give some recommendations for the people that want to check something out here, during the holiday season coming up.
There you go. Speaking of the holiday season, I watched half of the Holdovers last night, the new Paul Giamatti. It's getting rave reviews. It's like a new Christmas movie. Really good. I got to finish it tonight. It was super late when we started it, so we actually said, let's pause this and like finish it tomorrow. But very good. Kind of a wholesome Christmas movie.
Another one is not wholesome. We did we started the Squid Game reality show.
The reality show.
Yeah. Did you watch it? Oh, you did, right? We talked about it.
Loved it.
Yeah. We are big fans so far. The thing is that we started watching it like right before Surviving Barstool came out this week, and like on Monday, and we're like, so now we're going from one reality show to the other. I'm like, this is a lot for my brain to be taking in with alliances and shit like that. But it is, as someone that enjoyed the Squid Game show, which I think everyone should watch the Squid Game show, and then the reality show, we are big fans of that as well. So that's definitely
the fake deaths.
Watch list. Oh, incredible.
How funny is that when the squib goes off in their chest and they go,
they just have to act like they're dead. It was amazing. It was incredible. And there's like, that's another thing. There's been a lot of tweets about that show in general. And I'm like, fuck, like, I don't want to get it spoiled for me. So like, get that done. If you guys want to watch that as soon as you can, because I feel like people are just tweeting shit out just willy-nilly on that show, which I've heard has been picked up for a season 2, which is pretty cool.
Oh, nice. Good. Also, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Godzilla. Godzilla -1 getting rave reviews. Everyone I know that has seen it has been like loving the movie. People calling it one of the best movies of the year. I haven't seen it yet. I would love to. Godzilla X Kong trailer dropped. It looks ridiculous in all of the ways that Godzilla -1 isn't. And some people are saying this is why American Godzilla sucks. I watched that trailer. I was like, that looks fucking sick. Godzilla and Kong running towards a big giant orangutan like villain. I'm in on that too. And the Godzilla show is currently going on Apple Plus. I haven't checked that out yet either. I know people are loving that as well. Godzilla's just having a moment. Wanted to shout out the Big Zilla.
The Big Z, yeah, the Big G, I guess. One of my favorite things at Barstool is how we have someone's niche is everything in the world, right down to Tampa Bay Bucks, you know, and porno is like, this is where weird brains go. I got a guy who's a Tampa Bay Bucks guy breaking down film for 7 people on Bucks Twitter, and that was like the introduction of Stephen Shea to the internet. I love that Hubs is a diehard Godzilla guy. Like, he can't sleep the night before a premiere. He goes to it premiere day. I believe it's him and his mom go. I think that's like the most wholesome thing in the world. And I texted him, I was like, dude, how was it? Because I knew he saw the movie on like when it came out. He goes, I go, ball scale, obviously. He goes, 5 balls. Best Godzilla movie I've ever seen. And I was like, what? Like, I wasn't expecting that level. So, and then I saw, I think a Lights Camera Barstool clip where they fucking, like, Jeff was like, you know, waxing poetic about it as well. So I guess that's on the list. I have to watch that. I like the last Godzilla movie, which was Godzilla versus Kong was the last one.
Yeah.
And we enjoyed that because it was actually what you look for in with these monsters. Instead of just like 17 stories about different humans, you actually have the monsters. I haven't seen the clip for the new one, but it sounds like it's going back to that ridiculously. We have just monsters fighting.
Ridiculous.
Sign me the fuck up for that. Sign me up for this other one that came out, Godzilla -1. Was that the name of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know why it's called -1? Hubs told me why it's called -1, and I was like, oh, that's sick. He said it takes place once again right after World War II. So it's going back to the original, like the 1954 Godzilla, where he's kind of an allegory for nuclear fallout and the bomb and whatnot. So they're like, Japan has been zeroed. They're at 0. Now Godzilla is going to bring it to -1.
Metal. That's a metal fucking title right there.
Pretty metal. All right, now, before we get into the mailbag, let's make an announcement about next week. Next week's podcast, in the spirit of getting ready for Deadpool 3 and all of the crazy cameos from the Fox universe that we're going to get in these movies, we are going to be rewatching the X-Men movies on this podcast. So next week's assignment, go back and rewatch the original X-Men. We'll be talking about it next week. I can't wait. I haven't rewatched the original X-Men in probably 5-10 years at this point. I was such a huge fan of it growing up, though. My first Halloween costume I had at school in kindergarten was Wolverine from those movies. So I am very, very, very excited to dig back into these movies. There you go. You got the Magneto helmet.
Like, what am I doing? I'm not even in full costume for this. Sienna was making gingerbread houses with a couple of her friends, and I was talking to one of her buddies, and I was like, what is that? Because it was like a circle, and it's like, oh, this is the Pentagon. And I'm like, oh, okay, like you're making the Pentagon. He's like, yeah, this is when Magneto came out and escaped. And then I was like, holy shit. And he was talking about, I think that was Days of Future Past. And I was like,
yeah,
Frankie, I think I'm gonna have to start watching the X-Men tonight. So I watched X2 for like just a couple minutes just to like scratch the itch, and I was like, I'm gonna have to go down this entire thing, and then I'm like, well, I'm about to do this. So X-Men 1, I watched like 10 minutes of X2, and it was like, I was like, this was so fun, and I'm like, and it can get so much better based on all the shit we have now, where it's like the technology, if they hire the right people, please, Feige, please, God. But like looking back at those movies, they were so good. And the characters, again, are so awesome with the X-Men. I can't fucking wait for this. So this is going to be a fun rewatch, seeing how they hold up, seeing like what we thought then versus what we think now. I mean, I was old enough to remember going to see them in the theater. Were you alive for the first one? I don't know if you were alive for the first one.
Well, I was alive, but I wasn't around to see it. The first one was 2000. So it's 2.
Okay, so that's when it came out. Yeah. So yeah, this is going to be fun. Now we said X-Men, X2, X3, the first at least 2 of the like younger version rebootish thing.
Yeah,
right?
We're gonna be a little selective. I don't think we're gonna recap like Apocalypse in the basement. So we'll probably do X1. We'll definitely do X2, X3. We'll do First Class. Maybe we can do like X-Men Origins Wolverine and The Wolverine together, or we could just do the Wolverine trilogy and mostly talk about Logan.
Yeah.
You know, like some of the bad movies. I don't want to do just like a 2-hour podcast talking about how bad a movie from 10 years ago was. I don't know how entertaining that will be for people. So I think it would be smart if we like figured out our little schedule there.
I think the second Wolverine was the first movie where I was like in an empty theater and just like went on my phone during and be like, I don't care right now. Like I love this. I'm happy I'm here. I want to get the gist of it. I want to see it, but I'm also like at that point probably addicted to Twitter, and didn't do it for me the way I was hoping it would. But yeah, there are some obvious bangers in there. Maybe we'll just like watch the YouTubes of Phoenix and Age of Apocalypse and kind of get into it. And,
yeah, we ain't doing Dark Phoenix.
Yeah, that's not happening. And then again, we roll into What If, and again, still unconfirmed. I'm still choosing to believe that X-Men 97 is coming January 4th, I believe, because I saw it on some random rumors website that apparently in an article that was published like 5 months ago. So that's what I choose to believe, and then we're ready to roll, man. We're gonna have a fucking shitload of X-Men stuff before Deadpool comes, obviously in June.
July 26th. Okay. All right, now let's get into the mailbag. We got a bunch of questions from our listeners. The first one is from Internet P. He says, in the next MCU phase, what under the radar hero do you want it loosely centered around? Kind of how it wasn't about Tony Stark, but he was a huge focal point. So I guess who do you want the next Tony Stark to be? But also he says, what under the radar hero? So the obvious choices of like Peter Parker, Doctor Strange, I feel like we got to eliminate those and pick someone else. Now, I would have said Loki before the finale. Like the finale put him in such a great spot where I'm like, I don't want you to pull him off of that throne to go be the hero of the MCU. I'm going to throw a crazy name out there. And I thought about this a little bit, but I think the actor that plays the character is so good that who knows? This could be a huge focal point of the next generation. I'm going to say Kate Bishop from Hawkeye. I think Haley Steinfeld played that character so well. Out of all of the new young Avengers that have been introduced in the MCU over Phase 4, she felt the most natural to me. Her and Yelena especially. So I would say one of those two people.
Let's build it around Magneto. No, I'm just kidding, because that's basically going to be what our lives are for all these X-Men movies. So this is an interesting question. I like it. I'm going to go back to, I think the next phase is going to have to be around the X-Men, whenever the X-Men are introduced. And it's someone that is X-Men adjacent, and she's definitely part of the whole universe. She's in the fucking First Class. But I think Emma Frost, who I believe married Tony Stark in the latest comics, right? I think they recently got married. I think that character has a lot of like cool shit that has not been explored in any of the movies. I was playing one of the video games, and the Hellfire Club and all that stuff was like really like big in it. And I was like, fuck, like that's an entire side of the comics that I think I kind of like dabbled into a little, but I think there is a really fleshed out universe you can really get into. And speaking of flesh, kind of a smoke show too. And the way, she's involved and stuff, I think that will work in a myriad of different ways. I don't know if I'd have her maybe Tony Stark, the entire universe revolves around her, but like, fuck it. Let's see what happens. You cast the right actress. I think you can make it work. So give me Emma Frost.
That's a good call. There's a lot of X-Men characters that I feel like you can actually slot into that role because the television show did it so well, where there's so many episodes where it's like, this one's a Jubilee episode, and you can really like focus it around one person, or Kitty Pryde, right? Like you can take one of the X-Men and base everything around them. It's kind of what Eric Martin was saying in our interview. If you didn't see that last week, all of them are so well fleshed out. And all of them have such great weaknesses and vulnerabilities that it is probably the best superhero team you could ever ask for right there. You could ever come up with. The next question is from Johnny S. Johnny Sachs, maybe. He says, is DC doomed with James Gunn at the helm, tackling lesser known characters versus establishing the main 3 to 4 first? Example, Booster Gold, Creature Commandos, The Authority, etc. Johnny. No, DC's doomed with James at the helm, and I don't think he is necessarily tackling the lesser known characters first. I mean, his first movie is Superman Legacy, and yes, The Authority is going to be in that, and I think he's going to spin The Authority off into their own series and whatnot. Creature Commandos, that's just a little animated series that is kicking things off. That's like the prologue to this book. So I want to set your nerves at ease, Johnny. I think we got major faith in James Gunn right now. Look at Disney's list of movies that they put out this year. One Disney movie made a profit this year. One turned a profit.
Crazy.
And it was Guardians of the Galaxy 3. It's crazy, but I think right now, let's put our faith in James Gunn.
Yeah, Johnny, first of all, I do appreciate the question, because now we can create like a YouTube short and be right. Is DC doomed, in all caps, that, with James Gunn at the helm and, with little known characters? Perfect clickbaity YouTube title. So shout out to you, Johnny, for that. But yeah, Robbie, like you said, Guardians of the Galaxy made a lot of money. How were the Guardians of the Galaxy perceived when they announced they were going to make a movie about the Guardians of the Galaxy? Everyone was like, really? Them? Like, yeah, do that?
And nobody could believe it. And then think about how Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was perceived in that brief window where they said they were going to make it without James Gunn. People were like, no. People were hitting the alert buttons, the like DEFCON 5 buttons. The whole cast had to write a note. Like, I think we're in good hands with James Gunn. I do. So until he proves us otherwise, let's have some faith.
Yep, I'll have some faith. And listen, hey, I don't even have Trust the Feige tattooed on me anymore. So I will flip the script if they do not deliver. I mean, that James going to have to not deliver on multiple projects, kind of like the MCU did. But like, he's not bulletproof. No one's bulletproof in this world. We've seen that enough with all the different projects and comic book shit. But yeah, like, you got to have faith. James Gunn has earned our faith until he, rips it away from us, basically. Throws it in the garbage.
Stephen Monette said, I watched 8-Bit Christmas on Max the other night. Have y'all watched? Did you like it? I did watch 8-Bit Christmas. I think it came out last year, maybe the year before, just about a kid wanting a Nintendo for Christmas. The year Nintendo came out. I thought it was great. I thought it was very enjoyable, even as a kid who doesn't have the nostalgia of the Super Nintendo. It's just a great movie about Christmas and kids going over someone's house to play the new game system.
Bob, it's the regular Nintendo. It's not even the Super Nintendo that they're
it's not even the Super Nintendo.
Oh God, like, this makes me.
Because the Super Nintendo was 16-bit. Am I right about that?
Yes, correct. And then Nintendo 64. How much bits was Nintendo 64, Bob?
64.
There we go. Nintendo 64. That video still makes me laugh to this day. I just love it so much. I put it in a blog the other day. I was like, this is such an outdated thing, but who cares? Like, that should be every Christmas you should watch your movies, listen to your songs, and then like watch the classics where I'm talking Nintendo 64 video, I'm talking the Hershey Kisses doing the song, We Wish You a Merry Christmas. I'm sure there's some other Christmas stuff in terms of commercials and
maybe like an old Coke commercial with the polar bears and Santa.
Drink some Santa Coke for sure. You got to drink some Santa Coke, which is my personal #1 of the Coke rankings. It goes Santa Coke, McDonald's Coke, glass bottle Coke, which, you know, Mexican Coke, non-Mexican Coke, it's glass bottle, 3, 4. You can move that however you may, but those other things are a part of it. By the way, spell Steven's last name here.
Steven, like our coworker Steven?
No. Steven, who wrote the question in.
Oh. Monettee.
Okay, I didn't know if it was a Monet here and you were going Monette, but yeah, he's definitely a Monette then in that scenario. Right? I watched 8-Bit Christmas. I was a big fan. I believe it's Neil Patrick Harris, who's he's like the lead in it. And it is, as someone that lived in the 80s, I'll tell you, some of that shit was kind of spot on. And I love it. He says it, he's like, that's just how the 80s rolled. Like, we weren't wearing bike helmets. And in Bluey, the dad actually tells a story of when he's young, and he's like, yeah, we grew up in the 80s. Like, you kind of just went out on your bike for hours. Your parents didn't like know where you were, and then you just showed up back at home, maybe with a bruise or a cut, a scrape on your knee, and you were dirty, and then you just kind of like let it go. And he kind of just did shit that probably you shouldn't have been doing. And AJ has now gotten to the point, he's like, Dad, you grew up in the 80s, and it was a different time back then. And they've heard that enough times, and I'm like, yeah, kids, it was a little crazy. It was a little wild. So it's a good movie. As someone that grew up in it, I liked it. I wasn't sure how it would translate to people who are so goddamn young they think it was about Super Nintendo. But according to my guy Bob here, it's even good for the Gen. What are you, Gen? Are you Gen Z, Bob?
I think technically 98. I think I don't think I'm a millennial. I think I'm too young.
Yeah, and I'm like the last year for millennials. Like, I'm like year 1 millennial. So I'm right on the cusp there, and then you're just on the cusp of Gen Z. So it covers everyone from millennials to Gen Zers, which I imagine is basically the gist of most of this podcast here, the age range, the demographic, if you may.
So thank you for the question, Steven, because I do think that's a good recommendation for anyone listening to this podcast. Kind of a nerdy vibe on that movie, nostalgic vibe, basement
and it's
vibe,
a Christmas movie. So. It's a Christmas movie, so it's a time when you would watch it because it's obviously about all the Christmas stuff.
Great recommendation. Now, Trade Meek wrote in and said, ever thought about streaming like you and Clem? I feel like there are some good games that people would really like to watch you guys play. We have in the past tried in the office. We did some like Battlefront 2 streams. We did some streams in the past. I really have thought about this. I am so out of the video game loop right now. Like, I would love to get back into it and do an 8-hour stream that we cut into, you know, a bunch of little videos for the channel and stuff. So in the new year, I would say that is a goal. I would love to get back into that. I would love to go back into Star Wars and Marvel games, you know, like nerdy related games from the 90s, from the 80s. Screw it. Let's play some Super Nintendo and Nintendo games. Like, I'd like to do all of that. So yeah, I have thought about that, and I would love to get more into that and create kind of more content for the channel other than just the podcast. Some stuff like the unboxings, some stuff like me and Clem going out to a Comic-Con or something. More stuff like that in the future for sure.
The stuff with the streams is, I feel like this happens a lot at Barstool when you try something new, especially video related. It becomes paralysis by analysis. And it's like, all right, I want to do this Twitch thing, or I want to stream this game. And then it's like, all right, well, how are we going to do it to make sure it hits? It's like, all right, we got to get a schedule. We have to, commit to this, this, and this. We need to get a sponsor involved. And they're like, all right. And then maybe you do one or you do none. And then you're just like, oh, we're going to do that next year, though. But it is one of those things that is definitely something I'd like to do in terms of like the thought of it. It's like, yeah, play video games, shoot the shit, and whatever.
Yeah.
I feel like the bar to entry. I mean, everyone has fucking streams these days, but like the bar to entry was like, you need to have this professional setup and a PC, and you heard all this stuff, right? And then it's like to have it be anywhere near good. And it's like, well, that's just not going to happen here. I have to get a hard wire that I have to run a wire through my entire house. Smitty was telling me back when he wanted to have like Fortnite stuff. I'm also at the point where I've retired from Call of Duty. I've officially hung up the controller. I didn't even buy the last one because I was like, last year I bought Modern Warfare 2, and I was just getting the floor mopped with me by, honestly, kids that are probably Sienna's age. They're probably like 9 years old,
Yeah.
and they're just killing me. Like, there's a certain like respect you have to have for yourself. You're like, I can't do this anymore. I can't just get killed. So I play my Madden. I have, like, I sound like an old man. My Madden. I'm playing my Madden.
My Madden.
I play my franchise. It's just me by myself, and I play for like 3 or 4 years in it until
you're like, Sienna, hand me that clicker. I want to play my Madden.
Yep. That's basically what it's like here at this point. I'm just staring into the skid of old age. I got NBA 2K as well. I'll probably play with the Knicks for that for a couple of days until I lose interest. But doing something on a stream with my guy Bob, me and KFC, I know I talked about a million times doing I think it was like retro, where we were going to do kind of throwbacky things with 8-bit, 16-bit, even 64-bit stuff. I know they did Mario Kart last night on the Thursday Night Football stream. Something like that, I think, always plays. And it's more so just about the conversations. We did the NBA Jam tournament at the old office, and that was one of the most fun things I ever had doing here at Barstool. And then we just never did anything like that again, because remember how hard it was just to get like a fucking like hour worth of like a room where you could record something without someone else interrupting or budging in? It was a goddamn disaster. But now that Barstool is a little more spaced out, half those jerks moved to Chicago, and then you could just do stuff in your own house. It would be something that would be fun to do. Just finding the perfect game, I think, would be where it's talking points or different things that is basement-y.
Yeah. Two questions that are related, kind of connected here, so I'll answer them together. From Cody Larkin, he says, does Cody ever get the title off of Roman? And Evan Van Danas says, how would you book the Royal Rumble and Mania main events? How does Cody finish the story? I do think Cody is eventually going to get the title off Roman. I think he'll probably beat him this year. WrestleMania 40 in Philly, a city that means a lot to Cody's career. I think it's finally going to happen. Should it have happened last year? Absolutely. They should have just pulled the trigger at 39. I don't know if they'll get to that point again where he has that perfect, like, bow wrapping story, but I think they're going to try. I think they're going to make it happen this year in night 2 of WrestleMania's main event. Night 1, I think, will be headlined by CM Punk. Now that he's back in the WWE, he is a huge name. This is huge news in the wrestling world. It'll probably be CM Punk versus Seth Rollins for Seth Rollins' title. If you can make it happen and strike while the iron is hot, you got to do CM Punk versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. That's been a dream match for people for 15 years. If you can convince Steve to lace up the boots one more time and get in there with CM Punk like he got in there with Kevin Owens, would they put on as good a match as Kevin Owens and Stone Cold? I don't think so. I got to be honest. CM Punk is older, and you have to work a smoke and mirrors match, but I think they're very capable of it. So if it were up to me, night 1 is CM Punk versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. Night 2 is Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. Night 1 is almost the nostalgia, part-timer thing. Night 2 is the current guys. So I think that would be awesome.
I don't know any of that stuff, obviously, because I have been out of wrestling for way too long, and it's not something I'm proud of, but something I wish I was more into. But I'll tell you one thing I am interested in, and it is the Iron Claw. Is it Iron Claw, the name of the movie?
Yes. The Iron Claw, the new movie about the Von Erichs.
That comes out around Christmas. Is that correct?
December 22nd, I believe, is the date. Yeah.
I always like to hit at least one. Like, my family used to always do a Thanksgiving movie where, whatever the big family movie was, we'd all go together. Then a big Christmas movie. Now, I'm not going to take my kids to see that. I don't think it's going to be very kid-friendly. I mean, maybe Robbie might think it is, considering he thought Black Widow was kid-friendly when there was human trafficking to start the movie, kidnappings. Not this one, though. I think there is a good kids movie coming out. There has to be, because Hollywood's be stupid not to. Anyway, I asked my guy Eddie. He tweeted out something like, really excited, and he had the screen of Iron Claw. I guess he got like a screener of it, and I asked him what he thought. Would you like to hear Eddie's thoughts?
I would love to hear his thoughts.
I really enjoyed it. Not without its flaws, obviously, but I think that's a very hard story to tell in 2 hours. So that was the Eddie review of Iron Claw, and I said I'm 100% in. I personally did not really enjoy The Flower Moon. I did not enjoy Napoleon. So I was like,
oh, yeah, you saw Napoleon. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I think all it made me do was want to watch better version of the movie, because I think there's a lot of stuff that could either be a really good movie or a really entertaining movie. And for me personally, it was neither. Again, don't want to upset Jeff D-Lo, don't want to step on toes here. Stephen Shea was, taking heat for giving his movie review. It's again, old man brain. Flowers Moon is what I call it now, because I don't remember what order everything is in. Killers of the Flower Moon. There we go. I saw someone the other day called me out because they kept calling Monica Rambeau. I kept calling her Phasma, and you and Gia refused to correct me.
Yep.
She's Photon.
I heard it. I wasn't going to correct it. I heard you say it a couple times, and I was like, she's Phasma to Clem now.
Yeah, she's Phasma to me. Again, I've heard other people, like with podcasts and stuff, get names wrong. I've heard my own fucking dad get names wrong. That's just who I am now. You guys have to realize that if it's too much for you, I understand. Unsubscribe. Give us one step further from getting to 50,000 subscribers. I completely understand. That's just how my brain works. And listen, when your brain gets like that, when you're my age, you then have to go back and say, Clem, I'm sorry for being tough on you. Because it's just one of those things that happens. I used to laugh at those people, be like, these fucking idiots, they're saying Phasma. In fact, what do you think about this, Bob? I think Monica Rambeau should get the name Phasma, because Captain Phasma wasted a cool ass name along with a cool ass outfit, uniform, or whatever you want.
And honestly, Phasma, like you said, it's a cool ass name. It works for her too. Like her character kind of phases in and out of things. Yeah, I'm with it. She's Phasma. She's
Phasma now. She's
if you correct Clem, guess what? You're wrong. She's Phasma.
Oh God Almighty.
We got one more question, but before we get into it, I want to shout out our friends at C4. C4 Ultimate Energy, where you can unleash your inner WWE superstar. We were just talking about Seth Rollins possibly main eventing WrestleMania this year. C4 is the preferred choice of supercharged energy for superstars like Seth freaking Rollins. With 0 sugar, 300 milligrams of caffeine, you'll be feeling larger than life. I've got it over here. Let me get it. Got a couple cans here. We've got the Berry Power Bomb. That's the red, and the Ruthless Raspberry. That's the blue. They are absolutely delicious. Again, 300 milligrams of caffeine, packs a powerful punch, WWE-inspired flavors. It's time to step into the ring with them. C4 Ultimate Energy in WWE is available at GNC, online, or you could find them near you at findc4.com. They've also got the pre-workout powder. If you're trying to get a little pump in to look like this guy,
there it is.
Got to see the YouTube for that. I looked like King Kong in that new trailer, just absolutely shredded to the gills. And that's because of C4. So go to findc4.com now. Go online, look for the WWE flavors, or at GNC if you'd like to pick them up in person. I also saw him. I saw him in Dwayne Reed the other day. So I don't know if they're at all Dwayne Reeds, but I saw him in Dwayne Reed in the city. So look out for him. And now our final question from Basement Boy, frequent Basement Boy of the month, of the week, of the year, Sam Lauderdale. He says, this is for me, and now I flipped it for you as well. So for me, he said, would you rather be a protocol droid in a Star Wars movie, spend a 3-day weekend at the Forge Inn in Ireland with Conor McGregor, or have a private Oasis concert? And this one really, you could tell he knows me well, because it took me in 3 different directions. And I was like, oh my God, either one. It's a memory that lasts a lifetime with Connor, a memory that lasts a lifetime with Liam and Noel. Private Oasis concert, that just sounds outrageous. Protocol droid in a Star Wars movie, that's a memory and something on film that lasts forever. I have a feeling a lot of people would think I would pick the Star Wars one. And I would pick that almost over almost anything. I'm going to pick the private Oasis concert here. I just think that one is the one that's truly the least likely to happen in my lifetime. So I need to take advantage of that. Like the 3-day stay with Connor, that's like, man, if I fall on hard times and hit him up and I'm like, can I have a couch to stay on? That's a 1% chance. And I never thought I'd get to that 1%, but that is a 1% chance that's yes. The protocol droid in a Star Wars movie, that's probably lower than a 1% chance, but I think there's still, the universe has worked in weird ways. The Oasis concert, I don't think that's going to happen. So I flipped this for Clem, and I've written it. Would you rather be a Stark Industries employee in an Avengers movie? So not just any movie, but this is an Avengers. Spend a 3-day weekend in Oxford with Eli Manning, or have a private Bruno Mars concert?
Oh, wow. Wow. Oof, that's a tough one. Okay, so I'm going to just lay out my thoughts here. The Avengers movie, I've always secretly been jealous of Matthew Berry. I mean, he lived his life. He made tons of money. He was a fantasy football writer for ESPN, as like the face of fantasy, despite, let's be honest, not being very good at his picks because it's all just random. The fact that he was in Endgame, though, was such a trump card. So it always like made me jealous. The thing is, though,
a role just like that. Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing is, which goes with the Star Wars movies, as I was thinking in your question, like if you're in the Age of Ultron, it doesn't hit the same as if you're in Endgame, right? And if you're in Star Wars and you're in Solo, you're in the Protocol trilogy in Solo, that kind of hurts a little bit, right? Like it's still an all-time moment. Get a little framed picture of, that piece of film. You can really just like be like a bucket list checked off. Then we're going Eli in Oxford.
That's where he's from, right? I did a quick Google there. Or does he have a house there? He went to school there, Ole Miss?
He went to school there, yeah, Ole Miss. I mean, I feel like there's a chance, like, Mincy be like, oh, yeah, I know Eli, I'll get you. We had a thing on the rundown the other day. They were talking about Chad Kelly, a former Ole Miss quarterback, and Billy's like, I DM with him sometimes. Like, I don't know if I have his number. And Mincy's like, oh, I got his number. It was such a casual Mincyism. I just had to laugh. There's just something about Eli that is just so pure as, the fallen snow, that I just love to just be in his presence and just be like, I'd be the Chris Farley show. Remember when you threw the ball to David Tyree? And I talk about the Super Bowls and all this stuff, but there's like so many little giant stuff from his entire career that I'd love to just pick his brain about. Plexico shooting himself, how good Steve Smith was, and then he got hurt. Ben McAdoo's hair. There's just a million ways we can go. The Bruno Mars private concert, I've been to 2 Bruno concerts, and I don't go to a lot of concerts. So the fact I went to 2 in like 3 or 4 years lets you know how much I enjoyed myself. There's not many things that I think could actually break my vasectomy and make me become a childbearing man, which I do not want to become. I'm very happy. I feel like that's the songs he would play gets the wife in the mood, and then like there's something in my body that would just be like, we need to make kids. This man is making making music. That would almost be a detriment to me. So I think I got to choose Eli based on that alone. He's just such an aw shucks guy. Like people who made fun of him have now fallen in love with him. I feel like Eli Manning has about as high a Q rating as you could have as an NFL player, where you're going to have your haters from the rival teams and all that stuff. But the fact he beat the Patriots twice, especially once when they were undefeated, can you imagine, like, Patriots fans are insufferable, rightfully so, for years. If they had that 19-0 season as like the absolute hammer, it would be that much worse. And that big goofy idiot is the only guy. So I'm going to choose Eli. I've said he's going to the Hall of Fame, and I will be at Canton for his induction. And it's going, I'm telling you about, mark my words now. I've said it many times in the past. I'm going to say it once again on the pod. When Eli Manning makes the Hall of Fame, it's going to be one of the most unbelievable days on Twitter. There's going to be so much anger and vitriol about just some big goofy bastard making the Hall of Fame, and I cannot wait for it. I hope Eli doesn't kill Twitter before then. I need Twitter to make it to the Eli Manning Hall of Fame vote, and then it can just, fly away and blow up like one of his rockets. But until that day, I need to see it. And I just want to give Eli a hug and just bro out for 3 days in Oxford. I've heard it's a great tailgate scene. I believe it's called the Grove. College football, wonderful town.
Oh, yeah. I've heard Mincy say that. Yeah.
And I wouldn't want Mincy in there with me for like those 3 days, but I would want Mincy in the periphery where I could just hear his voice, like, hey, man, he's just talking to someone. I need Mincy slinging brick watches somewhere on the campus. Somehow, some way, this needs to happen. The Brick Watch Collaborative, me, Eli Manning. If it could happen, that would be the absolute dream. So that's I'm thinking it out. I think he's Eli Manning with a bullet. And I do think for you, I think a Public Oasis concert would probably win, because like that is probably never going to happen again, let alone a private one, right?
Totally. And when you say private, my head goes to like they would be playing at a very small venue and I'd be able to invite like everyone like all my friends and all my like everyone I know that would love being at an Oasis concert. So that's, I mean, if that could happen, yeah, throw everything else out the window. I'll trade it for that. Yeah. Thank you all for the questions, though. Very fun week of questions. And next week, we will be doing X-Men. Again, the first X-Men movie. You can send in questions about that movie, and we'll answer them if you'd like. So just make sure you do your homework. It's on Disney Plus. If you don't have Disney Plus, I think you could probably find it online pretty easily at this point. I won't recommend doing anything illegal, but if you needed to, it's like a 23-year-old movie. I think it's very, very, very easy to find at this point. So look forward to that. I'm very excited for finally getting into X-Men. The hashtag for this week is just eat it.
Bob, yeah, hashtag just eat it. So this is actually kind of funny. I don't think X-Men is on Disney Plus.
I thought it got uploaded like very recently. No.
So I'm looking at it because I was on it last night. Is where I was going to watch it and I didn't see it. So I'm looking at, I put X-Men in the search because I watched X2 last night and this is what I'm getting.
Oh, no, it's not.
Apocalypse, Evolution, Wolverine, Dark Phoenix, Last Stand, and then Wolverine and the X-Men, which is a cartoon I didn't know existed. So I don't know where we can watch it. We're going to have to figure this out.
This is incredibly bizarre, but yeah, it appears they just don't have the rights to just that one. They have the rights to all the other movies.
Amazon
Hulu
Prime
does not have it. I just clicked on it.
No? Shit.
No, it appears Hulu has it. It also appears that Amazon Stars might have it. This might be harder to watch than I originally anticipated, but I have faith in the Basement Boys and Girls in finding X-Men before next week.
This is what you have to do. Let's be honest. We all have the DVD. You just have to find a DVD player now. I have my PlayStation.
Physical media
version for this version. This is why there is going to be a second revolution on physical media because these people can just yoink whatever they want, throw it in a vault, and then you can't watch it or they get purchased by someone else. I have my DVDs. I almost gave them away. We couldn't find anyone that would take them. I'm keeping them now. I'm hoarding these things because if I want to watch my X-Men, I just throw the DVD in.
There you go. All right. You guys can find it before next week. We'll be doing an X-Men pod next week. Hashtag just eat it and make sure you subscribe.
Hashtag just eat it.